It was very worrying for us, is what we was going to do, how we were going to do it. My age, it's used our money, all our capital, and went into that, moved premises.
They need to borrow money to do that. Hello and welcome back to the Director First podcast. Today we are going to be having a chat with a recent client of ours to understand what sort of happened for them, what liquidation was like, what the fears were, how we overcome some challenges, and sort of what's happened now. So sharing that experience, strength and hope, with the hope that you who are watching this podcast can hopefully allay some of your fears, understand there is a way out. And without further ado, Nick, welcome to the Director First podcast.
Hiya.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
It's okay.
It's always good. This is the first time I've ever seen you. We've had loads of different calls, and I'm assuming you'll have seen some of my stuff online, but this is the first time I can put a face to a name here.
Yeah, that's fine.
It looks like we go to the same barbers.
Yeah, I need one cutting.
Nick, can you briefly explain and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business, how it started and what happened?
It started off well before COVID. Out of COVID, we doubled our turnover every year. We become really successful, earning good money, and we decided to launch another product. I'd done research. Everybody wanted to buy a British-made shutter, and they wanted it in hardwood. So we used our money, all our capital, and went into that, moved premises. Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan. Struggled with labour, struggled with getting quality jobs going out and things like that. So we started losing our way in the market. So we started to see a downturn in, with the sales. Then the economy was struggling. And obviously being a luxury product, people were being a bit more wary of what to do, and they wanted to go for the cheaper product, is what we were successful with. So unfortunately, with all our debt, we started not being able to meet all our financial needs, like the VAT man and the tax, PAYE, and so on and so on. And that built and got to the stage where it was very worrying for us, is what we was going to do, how we were going to do it. My age, it's thinking to myself, do I really want to start back over again from start? Sort of started Googling. So of course, how Facebook recognizes what you're Googling is I started seeing your face on Facebook and thought, okay, I'll give you a ring and see what we could do. So hence the phone call, and the rest is history, really.
And that's, the business, it had been going sort of 10 years, wasn't it? It wasn't something that had just opened up and, took a bounce back loan and then closed the year after. This was a solid business that had seen steady progression. And like you say, when COVID happened, the economy acted, it was strange, wasn't it? Because we were all locked down. No one could go on holiday. If you were self-employed, you were probably, if you were a self-employed joiner, you was on the best money you've ever had, because people wanted work. You were getting self-employed grants. Millions of business owners were locked at home with bounce back loans. People were on furlough with no money, nothing to spend their money on. It actually, the economy was booming, wasn't it? In such a mad way. And like luxury products, whether a lot of people was investing in their home as well, weren't they? Like garden furniture, extensions, windows, pergolas, shutters. And I've had lots of clients over these last few years that there was a wave, that there was an opportunity to really make some headway. But obviously a lot of businesses, they need to borrow money to do that, don't they? To sort of ride that wave. And that's what you did, didn't you? It's like, you got some asset finance, you took some loans from the bank, and you really put your neck on the block to ride this wave. And then what happened is sort of we let's fast forward to back end of 22, 23 and 24, cost of living goes up.
Yeah.
People are really hesitant about what they're spending money on. And overnight revenues can fall off a cliff, can't they? You know, and then you're left with, oh my word, how have I got? No one ever starts on this venture to end up in that position, do they?
No.
It's like you worked really, really hard. You've made 8-9 years of good, healthy growth, and then changing the market and things change.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened.
How did you feel when you first realized that actually I don't know what I'm going to do here? You know, what was going through your mind?
Well, it was very scary because it was like you didn't know a way out of it. You know, you can Google all you want and come up with ideas of how you can overcome it and things like that. And yes, we did try to strike a deal with the HMRC, but unfortunately, there was a point blank no. You know, we offered to pay it over a longer period of 2 years, but it was no. I'm sorry, we want it all up front, and we just couldn't find that. And it was like, well, you know, you're not being reasonable. I'm trying to be reasonable here, but you're not. But so there was no way out of it really, but to go the way we did, which I'm so glad we did because we got money back in the bank now. You know, and you know, and I know it's going to take a small, you know, a while to turn the business back round, but it will happen. I can sleep at night now. I'm not waking up stressing about this, that, the other. I'm not stressing up who's going to be knocking on the door. So yeah, it's given me a you know, another chance to get it right, and yeah, it is going really well now.
And we'll go into sort of what process you use to restructure this business, but I want to dig into the HMRC issue because if people are watching this, I will guarantee they owe HMRC. They will be behind on VAT. They will be behind on corporation tax and PAYE. And the key thing is to communicate to HMRC, but I can't help. I just wish they were more uniform in how they deal with businesses.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have lost count of how many businesses we've supported this last 12 months where they're asking for, listen, I can pay this over 2 years. You know, I had one client at the start of the year that they owed nearly £2 million. It's all relative. They were a fairly big business. Their cash flow showed they could pay it all in about 27 months.
Mm.
And the revenue said no. They went into an insolvency process, and I think the revenue got about 40 grand back.
Mm.
And you just think to yourself, who's making these decisions here?
Yeah.
I had another job this year. So this firm were on the verge of selling their business. They'd had an offer. Obviously, there was a process to sell this business, but they were about £1 million behind with the HMRC. Again, it's all relative. It was, you know, they were £20 million a year turnover. The revenue wound them up. They went to court to wind them up, and this firm, they had to get an injunction against HMRC to tell them to back off while this sale completed. And so you were sort of forced into the position where you have I remember our first chat, you had nowhere else to go. You didn't want to do this, but if you'd have been wound up compulsory via a winding up petition, the damage would have been catastrophic. And what you did, Nick, is you did something called a pre-pack, didn't you? You instructed an agent. An agent valued the assets of your business, the fixed assets, the intangible assets, absolutely everything, and said, right, well, you would need to pay between this figure and this figure if you was to buy it. and you decided to make an offer to buy your business, which the insolvency practitioner accepted, and you had some terms to pay for the business.
Yeah.
And what you've been able to do is start again without that legacy burden of the HMRC. I think, there were some other debts that were written off, and you've managed to start again as a new venture, and make a fresh go of it, learn the lessons. And that was one of the things I wanted to know. So what were the lessons that were learned in this process? Because sometimes it's a real tough reality check.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I suppose the lessons is we probably thought we could grow to what we was going to do, but we couldn't. I've learned that you can't negotiate with the HMRC. That's for one. So, it's just it's not something I want to do again. But, I have learned a lot from it. I've learned that, there is a way out. I've learned that, there is light at the end of the tunnel. With getting people involved in getting advice and things like that. So I have learned a lot. But we've also learned obviously the way the business is going to go now. It's given me a chance to think. It's given me a chance to plan. Because I haven't got that breathing down on my neck. I just couldn't for that past 6 months. I haven't been able to focus on the future. I've just been dealing with the past.
Firefighting.
Yeah, firefighting. That's all it is, And I used to fall out with the staff, blaming them because I was in a bad mood. So we lost 1 or 2 staff through that. We've learned so much. But I can sleep at night now. So,
and it impacts every area of your life, doesn't it? Like when you're a small business owner, work doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. I mean, I get it myself. Honestly, some days it can be overwhelming because you are just dealing with so many different moving parts, as well as running the business, as staffing issues, and it can be the last thing I think about. And the first thing I think about, if I wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, my head's on me. It's like bang, 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 bang. And if you and that's just running a business, and we're doing okay. I remember running a business that wasn't doing okay, and I was in the position you were, and it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Now, what I remember when we spoke, I know we wasn't the first firm that you spoke to. I don't want to know who you spoke to, but could you sort of share? You've had it. By the way, if you are considering liquidation, I think it's a bloody good idea to get 2 opinions. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your experience around that?
Well, the first company that came in, they seem to, how can I say it? They seem to, it wasn't about me. It was about what they could get out of it. I think that's how I felt. I felt as though, if they could, get more out of the liquidation, that's more money in their pocket. Wanted to get it done straight away. Wanted me to decide there and then. It just gave me a bit of the, oh, hang on a minute, you know what I mean? I don't really know. It wasn't about me. It was more about them making more money out of it. They wanted to send valuers in straight away, and they could probably see the potential of the what there actually is there. They didn't actually talk about a pre-pack to start with. It was something that I had to bring up to them and say, what is this about? And it was more that they weren't really interested. And I just felt as though they was, which is fair enough. They are, we're all out to make money out of stuff and things like that. But yeah, I just didn't really like the pushiness of it all. So I felt as though maybe they're not the right company for us. You know, they kept phoning me every single day if I made a decision. They could sort it out straight away. But again, with my head, how it was, I couldn't think straight. And I wanted somebody to be on my side to see what I was feeling, you know, and sort of, you know, help my, you know, hold my hand and tell me the best option, not them tell me what their best option was. And obviously when I saw director first, I thought, oh, obviously you're thinking of the directors first, which gave me a bit more confidence.
One of the red flags for me is somebody rushing you.
Yeah.
Now I've got 2 jobs on actually this week, and one job, like tomorrow, they're going to be issued a winding up petition. And I actually said to this lady, I said, listen, you've got to do something. I said, look, I said, you're going to have to do something. And obviously it's going to cost some money. We need some type of commitment. And I've just come off the phone to a chap similar. He's been presented with a winding up petition. Now, in them scenarios, a director, you've got to move. It's like you don't have any time. It's going to get taken out your hand. But them situations are normally very few and far between. You've got to really take a step back and think about it. It's a big decision. Do you know what? I saw on an influencer the other day, and they were talking about, I don't like these types of people. They were talking about, you've got to get deals done. I think from what I can gather, I'm not going to mention them, but they go out there and they raise money, you know, and they have opportunities, and they're going, I haven't got time to wait for people to think about things. I want this doing now. You know, you've got to act now. Is it right for you? Let's move. And I just thought, flipping heck, that is bad. I see so many horror stories in all areas because the person has moved too quickly without thinking about the full picture, the consequences of one's actions. And this is a big decision. I hope you never go through it again.
I hope so.
If you're watching this now, it's like literally there's very few scenarios where you can't go big deep breath in and sleep on it for the night or for the weekend. And yeah, you know, it's one of those things. You've got to do the right thing for you. There's a saying where you can believe in God, but you've got to tie up your camels. You've really got to dig into this and make sure you're a good fit as well. So you saw us on social media. What made you decide to actually work with us?
Well, I saw some of the talking that you'd been doing, explaining things about it, going into more depth about it, speaking it into layman's terms, probably, which what I understood. And it was like, okay, I quite like this. So I watched a couple of your videos, and it was like, okay. And I don't know, it just made me feel, you know, quite comfortable actually contacting yourself. You know, because, you know, you seem as though you're a smaller company that cares, there to help, there to put the director first, you know, and then sort of advise the best ways of overcoming it. And that was really it, really.
Brilliant. And that's what we did, because people don't quite understand the dynamics of insolvency, because an insolvency practitioner that you had to use on this job, they are duty bound to represent creditors. So actually, they're there to represent the HMRC, the creditors. They're there to investigate, you know, the director. They're never truly independent. Having said that, there are some really good insolvency practitioners out there, like that they're not all bad. But a lot of firms, they don't want to get into it until either you've paid them a load of money or you've appointed them. And once you've appointed them, it's too late. So where we come in here, listen, we can't break any rules, but we sort of advise you of what needs to happen and how you can get the best outcome, not just for yourself, but for creditors as well.
Yeah.
And obviously you had to work with an insolvency practitioner. How did you find that process of going into liquidation? Because there's so many people that dread it. It's like, oh my God, Chris, they've just got no reference point of what going into liquidation means, what a creditor's meeting is. Could you share your insights on that experience, Nick?
It was quite simple, to be honest. Yes, I was worrying about every single stage of it, when the creditors meeting was going to be and what was going to happen. But it was very, very straightforward. It was over a phone. They contacted us. They wanted to know, a list of who we owed money to and things like that. We uploaded that. And then it was asking a few questions. And that was it, really. They answered everything they needed to do. They advised what we needed to do with all our employees. They told us all the information they wanted, which was all straightforward. Yes, there was a bit of paperwork our end to do and sort out. But it was quite a straightforward process, really. And obviously, once the creditors meeting was there, hardly anybody turned up. And it was, I think it was about 20 minutes. And that was it. We was formally into insolvency.
Liquidation.
Yeah, that's it, liquidation. So, and that was it. It's there's still paperwork going on at the moment. They're asking stuff. There's been a few hiccups where been lack of communication. We've somebody owed money and they wasn't on the list, but again, it's quite easy to be added to it. And that's it as far as we're aware. We're just waiting for anything else we've got to do, and that's it. We're just getting on with our day-to-day business now.
Were there any specific challenges you faced during the process?
Just gathering all the paperwork together, really. We didn't know where it was with the move. It was all boxed up in files, so it was trying to find all that out. It was, I suppose, the biggest challenge was what was going to happen to the employees, because a couple of the employees actually wanted to take redundancy. But majority of them wanted to actually come with us. And it was like, what was the right way of doing it? But obviously, with the people that wanted to take redundancy, were we allowed to advertise their jobs, even though the creditors meeting hadn't gone? So it was things like that. So that caused us a bit of an issue, because obviously we didn't want to upset anybody, and we wanted to do it all by the books and get it right. That was about the only major issue we had, really.
Now, looking back at what you've gone through, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Done it sooner.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. It's we build it up to be this thing, and I think it's we're not taught to give up, are we? We're not taught to we're taught to fight and positive thinking. I'll work harder, but I think that can be a real negative sometimes when stuff's getting real, and it's like one thing I've learned is you've got to look at things as they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are, as they are, and actually go, can I move through this? Have I got any hope of recovering from this? And if the answer's no, then you know what, you use this process to draw a line in the sand, and like you can come through the other end and start again. But it's that, I mean, I know when I did it, it was months of worry, sleepless nights, and I think when it happened, I mean, you've touched on it brilliantly, that my focus then can go back on to what it needs to be, which is working, bringing in clients.
That's it. I felt such a failure. But I think it's a business decision. You've got to treat it as a business decision, not a personal decision. And it's right, what's best for the business. You know, like you do with borrowing money or going into new areas or whatever. It's a business decision, and that's how you've got to treat it as.
And sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees.
No.
You know, a lot of, for me, a lot of my self-worth was tied up in my business. And and like, I remember it was like, oh my God, everyone's talking about me, and no one cared.
No.
Like literally no one cared. And
no,
it's right here and right now in whatever we are, November 2024, insolvency numbers are huge.
Yeah.
Like, we only have to look at the last few years. It has been so difficult for a business to survive. You know, sometimes it's better just to grasp that nettle, or at least, you know what, take advice and see what options there are. Now, what was the aspects of our service at Director First that you found most helpful?
Somebody to talk to. Somebody to ask questions. You know, the silliest questions that you knew the answer, but you couldn't see the wood for the trees. So it was like, is that the right answer? So it was a matter of the phone calls, being able to contact you when you was on holiday, you know, putting my mind at rest. It's silly little things like that you just, it was just like, oh, what about this? Straight away on the phone. What about this, Chris? And the answer was there. And you know, it, to me, that was what I liked. It was holding my hand every step of the way, really.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you putting your faith in us. What advice would you give to another business owner who may be facing similar situations at the moment, Nick? You know, too much debt, struggling to pay people, hiding from creditors, not sleeping at night?
Talk to yourselves. Talk to directors first, I think, to find out what their options are. Because it's going to cost nothing.
Phone calls are free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, we've got a very sneaky business model.
Yeah.
We do all of these mad videos on YouTube. We answer loads of questions. It's all free. And our hope is that if you need somebody who does this, we've built up that much goodwill. We've answered all the questions no other booker has.
Yeah.
And our hope is you use us.
Yeah.
But some people, I know what my viewing figures are on these things. I think some people just use our information to go and get better deals elsewhere. But hey, how we can live with that.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that the liquidation process is behind you?
Oh, a lot easier. I can concentrate now. I can sleep at night. Start enjoying life again. You know, yeah, it's so much better for me. It's such a weight lifted off my shoulders. I can start thinking of myself now. I've joined the gym now, you know, so I can start focusing on better health and getting myself back to where I want to be. I can start pushing the business forward now. I can start planning because it just makes life so much easier for us.
Brilliant, mate. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience or working with Director First before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I think I just can't thank you enough.
Listen, I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Nick, I wish you all the best, my friend. And obviously, we're here if you need anything. God bless you, mate.
All right, cheers. Thank you very much.